This is Lola, a diligent ladies from Los Angeles and a wine organization chief. To her left side is Hamish, Lola's companion, who recommend her to go to Sydney and set up an agreement with a popular wine merchant called Hazel Vaughn. He additionally uncovers that Vaughn Wines doesn't have a shipper in US. Hamish planned to put every one of his eateries, just if she would make the arrangement conceivable. Following day, she was more than all set to Sydney. Inside their office, she meets her partner and have a little chatter with her, until her discourteous manager comes to her and commendation her work when contrasted with some other individual in the workplace. He leaves subsequent to helping to remember her next task. She uncovers to her companion about Vaughn Wines when she demands to educate her. Same evening, she comes to her dad's house for the supper. This is Carlos, her dad, John and Diana are his companions. Indeed, even they start to get some information about her adoration life and uncovers that she had separate from a long time back. After supper, Carlos proposes her to begin another adoration life since she put a stop in her affection life when Tyler, her ex, said a final farewell to her. Following day, after arriving at office, Lola sees her partner giving show about Vaughn Wines, to which Lola was stunned, and it deteriorates when the manager picks Audra to go to the Sydney with him and presumably give her an advancement in the event that she gets the arrangement. Upon him getting an assemble and leaving the conference, she defy him that she told Audra about the Vaughn Wines and she have the right to go Sydney, not her, yet he didn't tune in. Inside the gathering room, she uncovers that she was burned out on all the nonsense and narrow-mindedness his manager generally tossed at her, so she at last leaves the occupation for good. Lola has chosen to open her own organization called Salad Imports. She truly required a major record and required Vaughn family to develop her firm greater. Lola sorts out that Vaughn Wines has an Airbnb bungalow, so she will probably live in there as a visitor and some way or another view as an ideal second to pitch her organization to Hazel. Despite the fact that her dad thought it was far, still propels and support her with her thought just later. Not all that long later, we see Lola coming to Sydney at the homestead of Vaughn Wine proprietors. Upon appearance, she meets a man who deals to help her, yet mercilessly tumbles off with the weighty stuff and leaves alongside taxi. While investigating and checking out the house, a man named Max at long last strolls in from the entryway and inquires as to whether she was searching for a blend to the protected while being rye. He was able to show her the cabin before the chief and the ladies who seemed as though his better half showed up at the house. Max advised her to take selfies in bungalow or do anything she prefers, yet don't annoy Hazel Vaughn. One of their laborers comes in the manor and uncovers about the man who recently left alongside the taxi. He dealt with the homestead, yet he was unable to deal with the pressure. Just after she sees the ladies called Hazel Vaughn also continue to make sense of and pitch about her new organization. Hazel was not dazzled and told her that she squandered her flight, assuming the explanation was this. While their specialist left the work, Lola finds out about it and inquires as to whether she could work, all things being equal. After some wavering, she at last gets the chance to work. Max was in charge to show her all conventions and work she needed to do. Lola was going to be given snort work, hard yakka and chorns. Prior to starting wall retouching work, he make her mindful of the kangaroos as well. Hearing this, she was eager to meet them, however he guarantees her that they will presumably punch her level on her back. In the center, the truck quits working. Max couldn't really accept that she was not conveying any cap or shoes for the land, so he gives his own cap to her. Max tells her to not let her imagination run out of control about the contact, and we see her in the house, where she meets 3 understudies. Out of nowhere they hear somebody yelling, and she uncovers she utilized all the hot shower, and just later, she utilizes her charger and short out the framework. In the first part of the day, her housemates advises her to sit with them. However, much to her dismay, they were tricking her. Abruptly, Max shows up and inquires as to whether she was prepared. We can see him telling her the method involved with bowing the metal wire. She had begun working and sees a sheep and attempt to take care of her food. However, it was not something she was great at. Lola additionally neglected to reject the red-labeled sheeps from different ones. Later her eye gets Hazel and starts to laud her for her decent boots and inquire as to whether she believes she should import a few containers, however she was not intrigued. Afterward, after Max and her discussion closes, she leaves, where out of nowhere Max gets her since there was an earthy-colored snake, and they have a quiet second. Subsequent to cleaning the latrine, she gets up the following morning and goes prepared to work. At work she accomplishes something dumb and drives Hazel exceptionally crazy. She didn't have a lot of decision and prepare to leave Sydney. She requests that Maximum go take her to the air terminal, and they continue to go into his old truck. Once more the truck begins to act bizarre and stops in the center. Both continue to walk, where she uncovers that Australia likely can't stand her. However, Max thinks a piece unique and talk a few persuasive statements. Lola uncovers about her dad, how his dad Carlos was her good example and motivation her entire life and the manner in which she wound up working in a huge firm she used to work in. Around evening time she awakens and peruses the book on Hazel Vaughn's family's ancestry and grins. Next morning, Lola had fixed the heated water issue that understudies were confronting, thus filling their heart with joy. What's more, they likewise acknowledges her in their group while giving her new shoes and garments. At breakfast, she uncovers to Max that she planned to remain. She enlightens him regarding the book she read the previous evening and was roused because of that. He likewise gifts her a rancher cap and Lola was additionally shocked on the grounds that he had a thought that she will remain. Back in Los Angeles, in office, Audra was getting worried by the requests of her chief. We can see Lola sneaking in to watch Max while he was working. At night, while sitting with the entire gathering, Max began to play his guitar, where Lola starts to sing also. Everybody was enchanted in the wake of hearing her wonderful voice and partook in all of it. It was presumably the most inspiring second they all had felt. In some time and they began to sing the tune alongside her. Next morning, she was sitting with Henry having breakfast. Where he tells her how he was getting a charge out of here while working. Fundamentally, was having a work and life balance. Max likewise tells her that she just got her advancement. He saw her and the old sheep having a bond, yet he clears up for her how the sheep was going to be next Sunday's supper. However, she guarantees the sheep that she won't let anything happen to her. She began to work out positively for her bungalow mates and appreciating working with them. Audra likewise becomes more acquainted with that Lola is in Australia. Around evening time, Lola uncovers to her mates about her ex and relationship. She stroll outside and finds Max sitting prepared to swim in Hazel's pool. He challenges her to get into the pool and she concurs. They are grinning at one another while getting every other's eyes. Abruptly Hazel comes and grins subsequent to checking them out. Next morning was the trekking time. Be that as it may, Max wasn't positive about Lola, yet she shocked him by showing how she rides the bicycle. He was stunned and calls her an expert. Max informs her concerning his past, how he used to be an irate fellow and damaging. Be that as it may, some other time when he figures out his mom had malignant growth. Max was investing more energy around than her bed until he at long last understood and turned into a decent man. However, it was past the point of no return. Lola lets Max know that she doesn't maintain that the sheep should be removed and soon they arrive at a delightful area, a cascade. Back in the workplace, Audra was given directions by her chief since he sorted out where Lola was. Later on, Lola was being approached to have a beverage by her bungalow mate and they start to move and have heaps of tomfoolery. The climate was more good than any other time in recent memory and it seemed like paradise on the planet. They likewise wind up wagering on a dart game with a moderately aged man. Then again, it is uncovered that Hazel is Max's sister and she believes him should investigate the rest of the world and not simply snooty in Australia. Max likes it here, yet she makes sense of how she saw him and Lola in the pool. He thinks emphatically of her, to which she grins. Hazel asks Max, assuming that he was going to tell Lola about his sentiments. However, he denies telling anything to anybody. While inside the bar, the moderately aged man was compassing his score right, a battle starts between individuals out there. The bar brawl happens briefly until Lola whistled and the bar proprietor halted everybody. Later on, he was whining about this to Max, how they were causing serious problems for him, yet Max pays him the cash to figure things out. While Lola was inebriated, she winds up asking Max's thought process of her. He gradually continued to sit alongside her. She inquires as to whether she was blissful, to which he uncovers how he had something to tell her. Perceiving how smashed she was, doesn't open his mouth and removes her from there. The following day, Max strolls in to sit with him on the morning meal table. She was humiliated about the previous evening, however Max thought it was fine. He asks her out on setting up camp that very night and she gathers her sacks. They additionally go into the Vaughn family industrial facility where she tastes their wine. The specialist additionally offers to open a costly wine, yet it would cost around $200, to which she denies. She actually have no clue about that Maximum is sibling of Hazel Vaughn and essentially possesses the entire organization. For reasons unknown, he is reluctant on enlightening her regarding the truth. Later Max faced Lola when she said he felt forlorn. He starts to make sense of how being a recluse was his reason to avoid any and all risks and not become hopelessly enamored. They likewise see a little kangaroo, and she snaps her photo. It is the ideal opportunity, where she was drawing and uncovered a groundbreaking plan to pitch Hazel about her organization. She discusses his mom Hazel's mom Sabella as a motivation. Max was going to open his mouth, uncovering about his mom. In any case, she begins talking, and we are moved to the scene where they wind up having a heartfelt second. Toward the beginning of the day, he uncovers that he is Max Vaughn. Subsequent to hearing his words, she began to confound herself, however he guarantees her that he is a quiet financial backer and nobody is familiar with his existence other than Hazel and presently her. Lola flies off the handle at him and stays upset. At the point when they show up back, she is met with her ex-chief, who returned to employ her back to his organization, called Mythons and even elevate her to a higher position. Be that as it may, she denies returning to work and wishes Hazel best of luck. Hazel likewise faces Max about him uncovering his reality all in all too late. Her partner converses with Lola and apologizes to her for her activities. Lola strolls and meets her number one old sheep and says her farewell. Back in her bungalow, every one of her mates share a recently taken wine. Lola additionally offers back their effects. She meets Max prior to leaving for America. They have a little close to home talk, where Max lets her go. It has been a while and Lola has at long last set up her office. Her companion uncovers that Mythons, her previous organization and Vaughn family headed out in different directions. She additionally inquires as to whether she even had a go at calling Max, however she didn't. In a couple of days, in the wine advancement, Max shockingly appears. He uncovers her old sheep was feeling the loss of her back in Australia. At the same time, honestly uncovers that he had committed an error in those days by letting her go. We can see them all partaking in a wedding and having a great time eventually. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more.